Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon session of the Healthcare and Life Sciences track at TC16. I'm Andy Day. I'm the Global Director, Industry Director for Healthcare and Life Sciences. I run innovation, go-to-market, partner ecosystem, biz dev for provider, payer, pharma, and med devices. It's my honor to welcome you to this track. So Optum and UnitedHealthGroup is one of our biggest partners and also one of our biggest customers in the healthcare industry, and have done an amazing job in terms of driving actionable insights across their enterprise, as well as providing those insights to customers and others. And Eric, we're very fortunate to have Eric, who's the Director of Commercial Analytics, come here to share that amazing story with all of you. So with no further ado, Eric Omdahl, Director of Commercial Analytics at Optum. Take it away.
Thanks, Andy. So I have the privilege to talk to you guys today about two of my passions. One of those is working for Optum, and the other one is using Tableau. So I'm going to talk to you about how we use Tableau to really accomplish our mission at Optum. So an overview of our agenda. So it's not possible for me to talk to you about our deployment of Tableau and how we use it without talking to you about our why, our mission, and some history that about our company and its formation. Then I will talk to you about our Tableau deployment and management at scale within Optum and UHG and some of the unique things that we have in healthcare that all of you guys who are probably in healthcare have experienced as well. And then we're going to talk about the value chain and how we use Tableau at every level. Particularly in Medicaid, that's one of those businesses that has very thin margins and not a lot of money for reporting. So if you deploy a solution like Tableau, you really see a lot of benefit. And then I'm going to go through what you would see as our traditional value chain of IT, data operations, business operations, and then all the way to the client, and show you guys some value stories. And then the thing that I'm most excited about is the demo and developer tips, so virtual command centers. So we're going to kind of lead up to virtual command centers. And I've got a picture down there. There's two shared passions of Tableau and Optum, because Optum is a technology and services company, and Tableau obviously is a software that helps us tell a story with data. So on the analytics side, we tell a story with data, and Optum does that through Tableau. So I've got a picture of Data reading there, presumably debating his midichlorian content. That's a mixed metaphor. That was a joke, complete joke. You guys aren't as nerdy as I thought you were in here. We got a lot of business people in here. Because most people get upset, Star Trek, Star Wars, when you blend the two. But so our overview. It's not possible to talk about Tableau at our company without giving you a history of that company. UnitedHealthGroup is composed of two sister companies, UnitedHealthCare, which is benefits, and Optum, which is our technology and services side. So we have two different distinct missions, but we partner quite a bit. There is a firewall between the two companies, so that creates, as Andy mentioned, some interesting dynamic, being two separate companies with a firewall that you're trying to partner with and create value for. UnitedHealthCare, helping people lead healthier lives, the benefits side, and then Optum, which is helping to make the health system work better for everyone. And when we say everyone, we mean everyone. So providers, payers, and what really drives me is the members. So like people who are actually receiving this care. It's really cool when you can trace that all the way through what we do as an analyst and what we do in Tableau to a member, and something when somebody gets care that they wouldn't have otherwise gotten without, say, Tableau. So we're at the center of this value story. A little bit about Optum. It was formed in 2011 when we brought together a number of our existing products in UnitedHealthGroup, a number of different companies. And we're an acquisition type company, so every time we acquire a new company, it creates a new challenge, both for culture, the infrastructure, the data, and you need something that you can rapidly deploy and scale, and Tableau has helped us do that in enterprise reporting and analytics, and even in Optum operations, so really across the whole value chain. 300 health plans we serve, 67,000 pharmacies. You guys probably heard about the merger with Catamaran. They're a big Tableau shop as well. So that's been a fun challenge to take their infrastructure and some of their data and fit it together with Optum's RX business. And being at the center, it all starts with people. I said for me, it's members. It's also professionals, it's doctors, and I have some testimonials in there that you guys can take back to your clients too, as far as this really does change people's lives. Like Tableau does change people's lives. And that sounds, you probably heard a lot about that at the conference, but when you see it change how somebody looks at one part of the healthcare system, it's really powerful, it's an impactful, and it drives me every day. And then technology. So we are a technology company. I don't actually sit in technology. I deal with data and operations. So I would probably start my story at data and then back into technology and then back into people and then drive action from that. But either way, however you go around the circle. Lots of facts, lots of fun marketing facts that are out there on the web. So how does my team fit into Optum? We have 4 main capabilities. Growth and sales, so there's a lot of people, you guys might be customers of Optum's in here. Those people are in one particular area of the business. Business capability, so our actual product development. Support solutions, so IT, human resources, we call them human capital. And then operations and delivery, which is where I sit. But at every single one of these quadrants, we're using Tableau in the organization. So I'm in shared services, which means that anyone in growth and sales, anyone in product, anyone in IT or human resources can come to me and say, I want a view developed. I want you guys to do something in Tableau for us. I'm also the application owner for Tableau, so I'm going to talk to you about how do you manage all these licenses and what our infrastructure looks like. So there's enterprise reporting and analytics. I would encourage you guys, if you're new in developing a BI shop, to take a picture of this or contact me, I can share this with you. But the maturity matrix of where your shop is at gives you an idea of what you need to do. So if you don't have a vision of where you're going or what you need to do, this was something that really helped us when we did our internal assessment. And those gray circles, so, okay, I press this here. So these circles are now where we're at. You know, when you start in a 2 or a 3, it's good to know where you're at so you can know where you're going. And Tableau has helped us to move along the curve into what I would call a very mature reporting shop. We're ISO 9001 certified. All of our Tableau stuff is documented. That's a task that I would encourage all of you to do because it's so easy to rapidly develop in Tableau that sometimes we don't take the time to document those things. And so if somebody leaves or moves, it's a challenge. Tableau is a very easy software, so you can get around some of that. So our deployment at UHG, you know, I mentioned that we are a number of small businesses. We all kind of operate like small businesses. There's a lot of people that have control over their own general ledger items. There is a centralized strategy, certainly, but we have 2,000 desktop users and only 32 cores, which consultants that I've talked to, those of you who may have a large Tableau deployment already, that's kind of backwards from what you typically see. You might see like 128 cores and like 500 desktop developers. But the uniqueness of the way that we deal with PHI, there's a lot of people in the clinical analytics space that are actually using Tableau as their analytics tool. Like they're discovering insights, they're actually going in and using that, and they're not productionalizing that report. They're using that as an analyst. And those people are doing that through Tableau because they already have access to legacy data, legacy systems. They're using a lot of the connectors within Tableau, and there's not necessarily a need to productionalize that report. That creates a lot of desktop users. So one of the things that we do to make sure that we're compliant is there are 2 software asset management deployments that we have at UHG. One of them is Altiris, and the other one is Snow. And what those allow you to do is pull all of the software that's been deployed on people's computers and see when it was last used. And then we can match that up with our keys, our asset report from Tableau. So that's our process for managing those licenses. And then if we need to reassign a license, we can stay compliant with our agreement with Tableau, but also redeploy those software assets, because as you guys know, desktop licenses aren't cheap. And because people manage their own GLs, we've got a lot of people that are just going out and buying them. And that's absolutely fine. But with transitions and people moving in and out of analytical roles, that creates a lot of friction if you're spending $2,000 every time. We have great server administrators. So that's another thing that allows us to rely on only 32 cores for what we do. We have 8 cores dedicated to backgrounder data refreshes. Solely 8, that's all they do. And then the rest of them are for rendering, interacting, vises. One of the ways that my shop does provide value, and this is the goal of having like a centralized Tableau model, is that with 30,000 viewers and interactors, hitting 24 cores on the viz and render side, those workbooks need to be tuned. And you guys have probably seen that. One bad workbook, one bad apple can completely throw that off. So IT in the background is also using Tableau views to monitor performance. So they have like a real-time live monitoring of how we're doing. And then if there are people that have problems with the views that they've created, our IT shop sends them to us. And that's one of the services that we provide as a shared service. We help them and consult with them and say, okay, do you need all this data? Could this be an extract? Things like that. So now to transfer into the value story of where we've seen a lot of benefit. I want to talk about our Medicaid business in particular. Medicaid is an example of data rich and insight poor. There's so much data out there. When things are run by states, you know, the CMS guidelines that came out and wanted to split up all the bids for an MMIS. You guys probably heard about that. That's really good because it increases competition, but it also creates a lot of challenges from a DevOps side of the business. Because if you're going to go out and you're going to develop something that you have to rely on somebody else for the data, like another external company to do one part of it, somebody else is doing population health management. Optum might only do clinical analytics. They might only do one piece of that business. So there's not often a lot of money for a separate reporting solution to develop in an IT capacity, which is where Tableau comes in. The development costs to develop some of the reports that I'm going to show you guys are incredible. I mean, literally, like some of these are developed in 3 hours. Like we take data, an external source, IT cleans it, sends it over, and we have views that we can actually give to external clients within 3 hours. All of our reports, so this is sort of our strategy in the Medicaid reporting space too. All of our reports are built with a modular plug-and-play approach, which complements our Optum Enterprise Operations Medicaid business. So it's a cross-product strategy. You know, I mentioned that we're bidding on different components, as you guys may be as well. Tableau allows us to design for outlier analysis and sort of flip the conversation on its head so that when we're doing, you know, an RFP or an RFI or something, we can say, hey, you know, you have this long list of requirements. You have this really, really long list of requirements and what you want from reporting. It's 26 pages long. What if we gave you self-service reporting that did all that and more? And they're a little bit skeptical at first, but when we give them a demo, it just completely changes the conversation. It flips the conversation on its head and almost expands it, you know, but it allows us to take that money that would have been spent in a traditional IT shop, you know, developing, coding, testing, going back, recoding, and actually put that into program management, put that into the business, put that into giving Medicaid members the care that they need, looking for outliers. There's a meeting that popped up, fun. System development and data. I don't know how to get that off. I'm not an IT guy, I told you that. So we've designed a lot of internal SLA and operations report that are on demand. So I mentioned our clinical analytics team. we're refreshing this daily for these folks instead of monthly, so they don't have to wait for a big data dump to go out, get the information they need, then act on it, then take it to the state, and these are like month-long delays. So by the time that happens, it's 90 days past, and that member, if they were like, temporary assistance, they might not even be on Medicaid anymore. They might not even be enrolled before you can do anything for that person. So it gives you actionable insights on a daily basis. Our turnaround times, 1915C, this is a really cool view. This is one of our IVR views that shows when people call in, where do they actually flow to? So it allows them to say, what are our members concerned about? And you're gonna see that with some of the other views that we use in the value chain. What do members care about? What do people care about? Outlier analysis, outlier management. So these are some actual quotes from state clients. You're my hero with this reporting, seriously. Like they were not joking. This was during a delivery session where we had to go in and the contracts come due and you had to go to the state and show what you've done over the past 90 days, depending on how long the implementation period is. And they were just blown away, absolutely blown away, because they didn't know what Tableau was. Because Tableau penetration in the healthcare space isn't probably where it could be. So then another question from a medical director, what drove this trend? And the ... is, just click on that. So he clicked on that, and he's like, oh, the details are right here, this is incredible. And then when we wanted to kind of move on, he's like sitting there playing with the reporting and trying to figure out more insights. We're like, hold on, you'll get plenty of time to do that later. So now to shift gears to sort of our actual value chain. So let me do this real quick. I want to get that alert off of there. Sorry, guys. Okay, so dev credit to Philip Burrow. He's actually in the audience here. He works in our IT shop and skill-based workforce demand planning. So if you guys have a centralized IT shop, they probably have a ticketing system where people call and ask for something, or they submit a ticket via the web or chat. What this has allowed Phil's group to do is look at department and skill-based planning. So if certain departments need specific skills and put in a ticket, or during open enrollment, this is dummy data, but say this was open enrollment. We could figure out what skills are actually needed down here by department, which departments are heavy utilizers, and this allows our IT shop to sort of forecast what the expected demand is and hire to that. They can reconcile like the workforce size and particular skills with what are people actually asking for. So this used to be an ad hoc report. It would take a couple weeks to build. This was built in 6 hours. Phil's a talented Tableau developer, but in 6 hours, they now have something that's linked up to our ticketing system where if people are complaining, they can go to the data and actually say, what skills are needed across the shop? I don't know why this keeps coming up. So it's been fantastic, and we use Tableau in our workforce planning across our entire company as well. This is just one example of how IT is using it. We use it in call, big time, and we have a big command center, which I'll show you, but most of those views are filled with our call workforce planning. So now these leaders can actually get data, go get the funding they need because they have the justification. They can print out a dashboard and say, we need more people in this area. Here's a justification. Here's our outlier. You can change the standard deviation so you can figure out how much of an outlier is that actually and what volume would satisfy the need. So with Tableau, daily refresh, push to Tableau server. There's a consistent look and feel. So again, it's not different analysts, because I'm going to go back to the IT example of an ad hoc report. If you ask one analyst to do something, you're going to get a different result than if you ask another analyst later. And so what Tableau has done is there's the same report without writing a detailed requirements document. You write it once, self-service, now they can get the information that they need. Customer benefits. So I'm a customer of our IT shop, I mentioned that earlier. Our service levels have gotten so much better. Our wait times have been reduced. If there's someone that, we have different tiers of service, but if you're in an IT work group with a high demand issue, they have the skills because they know what skills have been needed historically. And they identify those choke points right away. So if they're going to do a big deployment, they can forecast who do we need on the phones, who do we need available in our workforce space. So now going from IT to business operations and business data, IT maintains a lot of our assets. A lot of businesses still maintain their data on databases. They maintain their own data. And development credit for this one goes to Caton. He's also in the audience here. He's on the risk adjustment team. And risk adjustment is responsible, so this is a little background so you understand what this is if you're not familiar with risk adjustment. At Optum, that team handles submissions of claims on behalf of clients. That's one of the services that we offer. And there's a lot of files. There's a lot of clients. And sometimes when you're pulling from their source systems, not only is there high volume of data, but there's different systems. So Optum has developed kind of a pre-check for that where we can send it through our algorithm and see, is this file going to make it through? Caton developed a dashboard, and there's actually two separate views. So one is at the file level, which might contain many claims, and then they can use that to go drill further and do further analysis. And then the one that I'm really excited about is the Sankey chart. If you guys haven't seen a Sankey diagram, it's really cool. You can do it in Tableau, but that gets to the claim level. So now we're talking not just files, but claim level analysis that they can do on risk adjustment, risk stratification, and he can go in and pull out that claim and feed that information upstream. So this is a 4-hour latency now versus again, kind of the monthly development, monthly refresh cycle. So we have an early warning indicator where we can load these files to CMS faster and get better SLAs for submitting those files. That's one of the big things that's come out of this. There's click and drill to the file level, so then you can see what file it is. And right now, go to the file, figure out what the errors are, feed that back upstream and say, this may be a problem in your source system. So it's almost like ad hoc consulting that we can do. And then those problem patterns, as I mentioned, are fed upstream, and it might be in IT, it might be file intake, or it might be at the client level. So this is the Sankey that I showed. If you've seen a Sankey diagram, they're really awesome for processes and data flow. So over here you have the client, here you have the HDC status, the ASM status, and then finally the submission status. So if you click on any of those boxes, it will actually show you where those files came from in the prior toll gate, all the way back to client. So you can see these clients might be outlier, and it works the other way too. So if you want to see a particular client, if we're going to go to a client meeting or something like that, you can click on the client, and it'll show you, wow, you might have a problem at this level. Here's why. Here's the reason codes why. And then it gives you the details, like what the opportunity is, and then we have sensitivity modeling. So if we said, if this claim didn't fall out, or if we discovered these things, what would that actually be worth? So it's all in one single dashboard. Big props to Caton for that one. So now as we're moving through the value chain, we've gotten from IT to data and business operations, and now we're getting into my shop. So this is what I would call the business reporting and analytics. So we're actually sometimes interacting with customers, but more frequently interacting with internal customers. Those are our main partners. And one of the things that we've done at Optum is developed what's called a spotlight on risk and quality. So you saw some risk data. We're going to stay in the Medicare Advantage space here and talk a little bit about quality and a virtual command center. So these are different views that we've developed in Tableau. We're going to talk about my favorite one, though. I love this viz. This is our suspect screen and our suspect modeler. This allows you to see potential gaps in documentation, and maybe more impactful for me, potentially gaps in care. At Optum, we have past, present, and forecasted conditions that we can report in this single thing from the electronic health record, and member stratification, member data, provider data that were fed in through IT and our data operations team. So those suspects are called suspect conditions, not because a member definitely has those, but because we suspect they have them based on a look back at the historical record. And they're stratified 1 through 6 as far as likelihood goes. But you can see all that stratification, you can pull those members, and you can actually generate a list for a physician, for a clinical program that you want to spin up directly from these screens. It's a fantastic screen. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from this, but you can see your HCCs and you can see your suspect versus your actual. So then as you start to capture those, you can see this graph move over time, and you can hit play and kind of watch, like, did our suspect population actually move? Did it do anything? And then you can also look at your capture rate. So if I were to capture a suspect level 1, what would that value be in terms of dollars? How many millions of dollars would that be if we documented that? And again, more importantly, actually got that member the care or had a physician look into that. Because physicians don't necessarily have time to thumb back through the past 6 years of medical records, and they might, with our disparate medical records, not necessarily know that they visited physician B because they don't have the claims to show that. Well, that's where Optum sits at the center of that and is able to provide that value across the whole health system. And that field list is so important. When you think about people actually getting care, if you can't generate a list and just print it off right there, probably nothing's going to happen. That sits on somebody's desk, or it sits in a PDF in a Dropbox, and people don't have time to look at that. This goes from insights to action right there. Client quote and internal partner quote. Now that I have this tool, I don't need to download other reports. It's all in one place. As I mentioned, insights to action. One of our internal VPs of risk and quality said development has been so much easier. This is speaking about Tableau and our team. So this is like a pitch for Tableau and you guys, deploying this in your organization. It's been so much easier than traditional IT development. It allows rapid changes and easy deployment. We're able to get away from quarterly or even monthly release cycles. We can do this same day sometimes. A client can call us up, say, I'd like to see this view, or do you have this data? We can look in our reporting mart and say, yes, it is. You pull it in, make a new view, publish it same day. And that's really rewarding for me. When you turn someone who's maybe a skeptic or someone who doesn't really use data into an active data user, that's one of the powers of Tableau. These people that are process people, they don't necessarily want to do anything with their data until you show it to them, and they know what they can do with it. So the fifth one, staying in Medicare, but going more to the STAR side, so the quality side. These are our gaps in care analysis, and this is actually going to be what I'm going to demo for you guys and show you how you can build one of these. But we have a command center that we support a lot of the reporting for that we've built in Tableau. And that helps us to orchestrate across our clinical programs, our field people, providers that might have concerns. We can give all of those people access to a single source of reporting. And what I would say for this is it's a dashboard within a dashboard approach, which is kind of weird to think about, but we've seen a lot of views and individual views, and Tableau allows you to tab at the top. But what we've done in our virtual command centers, and this is one example of them, you can design your dashboards with a key indicator and create a thumbnail. So you can say, rheumatoid's got a lot of red, I want to click on that one. HRA, green or no data yet. I can probably avoid that one. So people don't need to necessarily go to that. And in the same vein, you can see what the cadence of these updated. Now this is a demo, so these were all updated in July, but typically those are updated on a daily or weekly basis, and you don't have to have that communication, and you don't have to have someone who knows, oh, that data is only updated every Wednesday, or it gets loaded on Tuesday. You have that right built into your command center. And if you use those visual KPIs, people can click on it and say, everything looks green, great, who do I want to recognize today? That probably isn't the case, but then you can manage to the outlier. You can manage to your problem, not offender, but manage to the people that need the care, basically. So, rheumatoid arthritis, you might say, who needs, or what contracts are, because if you're familiar with the way the star rating system works, it's at a contract level. So you might say, what contracts are in trouble? You click on the contract. Well, first you go to this dashboard, then you click on the contract. Then you can drill all the way down, generate your member list, as I showed you before, and now you have something for your field team to work. And everyone's working off the same list, everyone knows the same status, and allows quick prioritization of those contracts, and more importantly, the members that may not be getting the care that they need. So this allows, this quote is from one of our internal salespeople. To bring it back to the beginning, our salespeople are kind of separate from our traditional operations. But this allows them to do their prep for the provider meeting right before the meeting. So they don't have to ask for custom reporting, ad hoc reporting, it's all there. And we did this with a team of 2 people. So everything that you saw up there was done with a team of 2 people, which is pretty cool, pretty powerful. Again, when you think about a typical IT bid, if you have to ask for your IT shop to do that, you got to give them a BRD. It might take 10, 20, 30 people. And this is leveraging data that we already had. Optum has an advantage in that, certainly, because we're a big data company. Data is like our strong point. That's our strength. So you guys might have to have IT do a lot of upstream data work. The flexibility of this tool allows our field team to understand what is happening in our business. Just giving people visibility into their operation. People sometimes say, I need these analytics, I need analytics. What they really need is just operational reporting. They need visibility into what's going on in their shop. We're seeing things on our own that we would not have known to ask for. It's leading to program improvements across the board. So I mentioned these process people. They know healthcare really, really well. They don't necessarily know data and reporting that well. So having an in-between person to sort of shepherd that helps a lot. So let me show you the how-to. So I'm gonna do this live, so bear with me a little bit here. I'm gonna read through these basic instructions. Feel free to take a picture of this. Your first step is to add a web page to your dashboard. Do we have any developers in here? You guys? Okay, so this is sort of geared towards you guys. If not, people who are taking pictures, give this to a developer. This will make sense to them. On the left-hand side of the pane, you pull in a web page to your dashboard. So you get the URL of the view that you particularly want on server. You delete all the stuff at the end in the hyperlink. So a lot of that is code that's telling Tableau what to do and what to render. Delete all the stuff so that it just has up to the sheet name, and I'll show you guys this in a second. And then insert / before views in the link. It's really easy, but what it does is it generates a thumbnail. So these are just thumbnails of a live web page. And then when you refresh your web page, it actually goes out and gets that new thumbnail. So if your KPIs have changed within your underlying dashboards, your colors will flip, everything will change over. And then you need to add an image. So this gives the clickability function. So add an image to your dashboard that is transparent, which is kind of hard to do, but if you have someone who's good in images and knows, it's not that hard, and knows like Adobe, for instance, get a transparent image so that it doesn't overlay the thumbnail. And then you set the URL to the appropriate dashboard on your Tableau server. And now you have a virtual command center. It's literally that easy. So let me show you, I'm gonna switch here. Let me show you what this looks like on Tableau desktop. Okay, so this is our landing page, and this doesn't work. You know how it says it's not found, workbook not found exception? It's because it's not logged into the server. I'm not logged into the server, so I can't see that view. But once you are logged into the server, if you have your permissions correctly set up, it won't let your user even see the preview of the dashboard unless they have permission, which is another sort of cool feature of embedded permissions within Tableau. So let me pull in a web page here. Floating web page. I'm not going to add a title and make this look pretty for the sake of time. So I copied this URL earlier from a dashboard that we had. So here's all the stuff, all this embed. It's telling Tableau how to render, what to do in the browser. So we've got demo exec dash, right? And then let me flip back to the PowerPoint. So insert thumb slash before views in the link. That's a backslash, isn't it? So there's step one, internal server, of course, because I'm not logged in. And then you're going to want to adjust these too. So see how these are the same size for the image. And then you need to drag your image on top of that. And you're going to want to make them the same size. Let's go to desktop. Transparent image. So now we have a transparent image that overlays that. So when I click on that, it'll actually take me to the URL. Set URL. So set that the same. And then you can publish this. I'm not going to go through that, but let me show you what that does when you click on this. I am logged into the server already on my browser. Of course, over VPN. Demos always, this always happens when you do live demos. For those of you in consulting, you probably know that. So I've reset the executive dashboard. Let me show you what that working demo looks like in a landing page. So here's all of your different views, and you can actually go in and click on any of these. So here's the demo dashboard, which is a different screen for our risk and quality program. So HQPAF is one of the programs that we have. That was one that a salesperson asked for. They're like, we want a custom HQPAF reporting. So when we go and have these discussions with our clients, we're like, yeah, we'll make a screen, no problem. So that's what it looks like. That's how easy it is to do. You guys saw me add that. That's literally the extent of what you need to do. And then you do that for all of yours, set the dashboard the same. You know, for consistency's sake, I would say use this pane where you're actually setting the size of your window as opposed to trying to drag it. That's, if you have like if you guys are beginners and you're planning on getting a Tableau license yourself and doing any of this, that's like one of those things that, I don't know if you guys attended Hidden in Plain Sight, but if they didn't talk about that, that is one that you should absolutely do. So then let me show you this risk and quality one. You know, I kind of gushed about this a little bit earlier in our suspect screen and what you can do, but and if you guys have been in Tableau, this may not be as impactful for you, but dual dimensions are awesome. So if you have a state dimension and with layers, I can't wait to see that. Did you guys see that keynote where they talked about layers? That's going to make this even cooler. But dual dimensions on a map are really awesome when you go from like state to county. So you can see that stratification. It's actually doing this at the line item level for 500,000 members, which is really awesome. And again, this is on our server, so this is running 24 cores along with 3,000 other workbooks. So I'm hitting this as other people are too. So if your workbooks are tuned well and you have developers that know what they're doing, it really saves you a lot of headaches. You can go in and see your suspects. So I mentioned, you know, that medical record, 7 are people that don't have any suspects. But you can go in here. I don't think we have this turned on in demo because this is dummy data. But you can click on that and see where those suspects actually live, like at the member level address, which is going to be cool when you can add like a third layer on there and actually get to, you know, zip code. Because right now we've got county. We were texting during that, and I was like, oh, it's going to be so cool. We can add so much functionality to our existing reports. It's prevalence screen. Hopefully it doesn't take long. This is another one that's really awesome. You know, I mentioned about generating a member list. If you want to see all the people that have vascular disease, and you can select and say vascular and, so when you're thinking about like comorbidities, this screen is fantastic. And if you guys want to know more about like our Optum Spotlight, I can give you guys a contact. I'm not the expert on that product. I'm the nerd behind the scenes. But it is really cool what you can actually do within the product and the value that we've driven internally and the programs that we spun up because of this reporting. So this is our suspect screen. So I mentioned outlier analysis. You know, dummy data again, so we don't have actuals in here because these people don't have an actual medical record. But you can go in and say, you know, last name, first name, here's a member ID. These are fake date of births, by the way. But you can go in and see what they have. And you guys probably know this, right? But export that directly, and in here, because it's embedded, I think it's at the bottom, you can download that member list and do something with it. And then we used to have a thing in here where you could actually pass. I don't know if you've seen passing filters back and forth between screens. That's something that if you haven't done that, send that to your developers because it adds a lot of functionality. Like if you want to see these outliers in a financial modeler, you can right click and actually have an action or a URL action that passes them into this other screen in the suspect modeler. Because everything comes down to benefits at the end of the day, right? Like financial benefits. If I did this, what am I going to get? Anytime you're selling a story or driving a program or trying to do something. So I'd encourage you guys to also build that into your views and build that into anything that you do in Tableau. If you can bring it down and break it down into, if we do this, here's how much money we can get, people love that. Some of the other stories focus a lot on financial data. Merging the financial data with the claim data, it's incredible. That's one of the things that we're currently working on too. So let me go back and flip back to the presentation and wrap this up for you guys so we have some time for questions. So again, if you guys want to take a picture of that, feel free. Any takers? No takers, okay. Or you already got it. So I showed you our spotlight on risk and quality. So where are we going? Adoption and evolution of that enterprise reporting model with Tableau. These virtual command centers have become stable and repeatable. They're interchangeable. So if someone says, I want my own version of that, if you use the web edit feature, you can allow them to do that. They can take things off. They can add their own in there. They can download them. They can interact with them. And it's made our physical command centers more of a shared service, which means that we don't need 16 command centers of people sitting waiting for the call so that they're ready to respond for outliers. We can spin up a war room. We can actually put those reports, put things up on the screens here. So this is a two-level command center. And all the analysts can go in here and see the exact same screens. Click, interact, act, and then we have an executive war room too. So like the people who need to say, we got to do this program today, fix this, do that. IT has used this for a number of their war room projects. So I mentioned we were using it in IT. If IT sees an outlier or a problem, they use this war room. We've saved time and effort, so I can't put a total number on it, but I will say, I'm going to borrow a phrase, they're huge. We've seen bigly, too soon? Anyway. So it's single platform solutioning because we've been able to centralize that reporting, and we're not now having 6 different developers and having to pay for them across our org. You know, we hire Tableau developers, which is tough to find, as you guys probably know, but we hire Tableau developers because that's our platform solution for what we want to do in enterprise reporting and analytics. That being said, we do have to supplement that occasionally with upstream things. So I mentioned client data. You guys have those challenges. So we're going to continue to evaluate where Tableau is like that complete lower cost solution for us. Evolve our model and continue integrating complementary software. There's some cool vendors here. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to walk through the hall and seen what they can do in partnering with Tableau. I'll go back to that maturity matrix. If you don't have your processes documented, for me, I would say like 3 years ago, I wouldn't necessarily know, and I'd be like, how do you fit into that architecture? But as you move along that maturity curve, you start to see where that value comes from in some of the ETL vendors, some of the data workloader vendors. So we're doing that and then integrating existing processes across all of Optum and reporting into our model so that we see around 20% savings when we integrate another process into what we're doing. And Tableau helps make that possible. So that's, again, kind of a sales pitch for us for Tableau. And this is a closing thought for your journey, which I think is our journey. So a lot of people are probably in healthcare in here. How do we make the healthcare system better? Because with all the changes, with all the changes upcoming, particularly with the election results, things are going to change. They're always going to change. So you need a software, you need something that is flexible and adaptable, and you need a process that is flexible and adaptable. So when it seems really dark and it seems like I can't get anybody to pay for this software, I'm going to leave you with a closing thought. Other people have walked this journey before, and if you guys want to shoot me an email or you need help selling something, I can probably spare 5 minutes to help you do that. Your Tableau salespeople will always do that, and they can definitely get in contact with me. So here's the closing thought. Again, I started with the stars. So I'm going to go to my other favorite thing, which is Tolkien. So there, peeping among the cloud rack above a dark tor high up in the mountains, Sam saw a white star twinkle for a while. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked up out of the forsaken land, and hope returned to him. For like a shaft, clear and cold, the thought pierced him that in the end the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There was light and high beauty forever beyond its reach. So that's how I feel about data. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I get tingles when I read that. So that's my closing thought to you guys. But if you have questions, they want you to complete a survey. If you have questions, we have some time?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So first and foremost, big round of applause to Eric. So that is probably the first prosaic conclusion to a presentation. So thank you for that. Questions from the audience? Yeah, please.
Just curious, I know you talked about, by the way, you're 32 cores and I don't know how many, 2,000 users. That's pretty damn impressive. But just out of curiosity, you talked about like documenting Tableau dashboards. I have been tasked to do the same thing, and it's probably the worst thing in the world. So I was just curious, like, well, how do you do that? What level of detail do you put in? What level of detail do you put in for, like, they want me to define like everything in my data set. It's kind of insane. So I was just curious, like, how you do that.
We define it from the developer perspective. So if someone had to fix or recreate something, that's how we do. So when I say that, we define the data source, and your data mapping probably would be in a different document, right? So whatever ETLs you're applying to it until it gets to the Tableau ready stage. But for Tableau dashboards, we define what the actions are. So like, what are the important things that the user cares about? We also have this really cool system called RITE, which is Request Intake Tool Enhanced. It got enhanced. It was RIT and then became RITE. So that helps us with like getting a BRD and figuring out what we need from the user perspective. And if you're running an agile shop, now it's hard to go back and do this, but if you're running an agile shop and you're figuring out what is the purpose of this report, I would always start there. So like executive summary, what is this report doing? And then what are the key functionalities? And document from there. Because there's certain things that just don't make sense, like here's a set or here's something else. I probably wouldn't define that, but it kind of depends on the requirements that you guys have internally. Because ours is ISO 9001 certified, and we have an internal quality team that actually monitors that and looks at the documentation. A thing called Atlas Document Management. So there's controls on it. And so we get to kind of lean on that a little bit. But I would say start with what are the core functions, what are they doing, what is the dashboard showing, and then the data source. And then your data source would be in a different doc.
Cool. Any other questions?
What were you using before Tableau?
Well, we still use a little bit of this today, but SSRS was a big one. We're still a pretty big SQL shop. That's a big part of our back end is SQL and structured data. SSRS is a big one. MicroStrategy is another big one. You know, I could rattle off. Oh yeah, Cognos, sure. The development costs, and OBIE is another one. You know, so it's also not just what I was using, but anytime we bring on a new team, they always have their own flavor of how they do reporting. So Oracle has this suite of tools that a lot of people use, and that always gets challenging to try to say, you don't have to spend $300,000 to develop a report. You can spend $3,000 and do it in Tableau. But people are reticent to change, so if you have a good change management, they can help shepherd that integration to Tableau. And again, your Tableau reps should have those comparisons for you to help tell that story of why a move to Tableau is good. Yeah.
Question here.
So with having like 2,000 desktop users across the enterprise, how do you guys handle the data governance around all the information that people are reporting on and making sure that the two reports that they're actually accurate?
That is a great question. I would say that's kind of an opportunity for us as an org because we have all these clinical analysts. I think Tableau's Maestro is going to help with that a lot. The certified data source, that's one of the things that we were talking about. Our IT group typically does a lot of that, certified good data sources, and they have this single sign-on where you need to get access. So we have a thing called secure. And so you need access to the data to be able to do anything with it. From best practices, though, we try to document whatever the source that we're using is in our dashboards. And you might have seen that in one of them, the source and when it was refreshed. So if there's latency differences, we can talk about that. If there's actual source differences, like even if it does go back to the same claim source, if you have a different reporting mark that you're doing whatever value add to it, we want that in the dashboard, so that the business users don't get concerned and we don't have turf problems where my way of doing this data is right. Maestro is going to help with that, I think.
The question at the back. Yeah, please go ahead.
Data integrity is something I face challenges with, especially geospatially. So we're looking at people enter the data, the cities are spelled wrong, zip codes aren't correct, and then you're trying to cross-reference multiple records for the same patient, don't even match. So do you handle that on your end? Is there another group that's down or upstream that deals with this?
This does play off the other question. There are certified data sets that are correct. What's interesting is once you put these things in Tableau and map it, and there's like 6 unknowns and it shows that little thing at the corner, it brings visibility to that. And so I mentioned that IT is using this. Our business operations and data operations teams are using Tableau. They're identifying those things and fixing them on their end. Sometimes data does still get to us that has those issues, and we do clean it up then in our reporting mart, but feed that back. So having that feedback loop to be able to say, these members have incorrect records, you guys need to go write it back. My shop doesn't own the data though. There's nothing that we like own in our shop. We're kind of a pass-through. So we identify and then recommend.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, thank you, Eric, again for a compelling presentation.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your attention.